Oh, interesting views there. Just before I called to the Lagos studio and get to Mr. Ida Hussein's views. And Mr. Fatoko, we listened to those people we spoke to on the street, and they say, particularly the first Nigerian we spoke to, says it's overdue. It should have been done earlier than now. Why is it that the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Bankers Committee just decided to start this project last year? Why wasn't it done earlier than now?
Thank you, Harriet. You know, for any program, any project, in fact, any innovation, there must be a period of gestation. There will be a time when the innovation will be conceived. There will be a time when it will be thought over before it becomes live. So this issue has been on the ground for some time before the Bankers Committee decided last year that they want to take the bull by the horn and do it by themselves. And let me also add that it is an innovation. And in the whole wide world, Nigeria is the first country under the leadership of the governor of the central bank where bank customers will take this initiative to fight identity theft. It has been used for other products like ID card, like maybe credit card, like international passport and things like that in some other jurisdictions. But it has not been part of the information required for the banks. But because we know that it's going to assist us a lot in this part of the world, that is why we adopted it.
Well, like one of the people actually said that we have situations where there are some people that don't open their accounts by themselves. They have other people do this for them since they're not able to read or write, but they do need account numbers. So how is this going to be addressed going forward?
In fact, it's going to be a plus for them because hitherto, such people cannot read or write. When they get to the banks, they either use tampad to thumbprint, or somebody who the account is being operated by proxy, which is not allowed. So this is going to assist them because whenever they go to the bank, they don't have to use anybody's finger. They will use their own finger. There will be no operation of the account by proxy. They will be able to operate it by themselves. So it's a plus and not a minus for people who may not be able to read or write. And apart from that, even on ATMs and POS, you know, one of the challenges we have is that some people who may not be financially literate or who they may not understand figures, they may not be able to operate the ATM themselves. So when they go to ATMs, they will give their PIN number to somebody. Oh, my son, my daughter, I beg, this is my number, help me print it, help me press it. But going forward, ATMs and POS machines will also be biometric enabled. So that even if you forget your PIN, just as the governor said on Friday, you can do your transactions using your fingers.
So in a situation where for some reason somebody has had an accident and all 10 fingers are not able to be read by these machines, what then happens? Because it seems as if these particular machines that have come out are only going to be using fingers as a means of identification. Why wasn't it thought that maybe another form of identification, probably using the retinal scan or the rest of it, should also be introduced along with the scanning of fingerprints for confirmation of customers' data?
This is the beginning. Thank you, Harriet. This is the beginning of the program. And I'm sure you agree with me that with time, there will be developments, there will be fine-tuning. So all these concerns that are being raised will also be taken into consideration. And I want you to accept with me that the number of the population or bank customers whose 10 fingers will have been completely chopped off will not be much. But that will be taken into consideration too. There are other challenges that must be taken into consideration. But the good thing is that we have started and we are moving on fine. And Nigerians are encouraged to embrace it because of the benefits that comes with it.
Well, Mr. Fatoko, this project is supposed to last for about 18 months. Has it started already? Because we were made to understand that the pilot phase was supposed to have started on Monday and will end on the 31st. So the two banks are actually supposed to have started this pilot phase. Which banks are this specifically?
Not 2 banks, 2 branches of each bank. 2 branches of each bank, and then they will add 2 branches too after 1 month to make 4 branches. And just as you heard the governor said, in the next 18 months, all branches of banks will be captured.
So just hold on to your thoughts.
So it has really started.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fatokun. Just hold on to your thoughts. We'll come back to you in just a moment. I still have here with me in our Lagos studios an economic analyst, Gabriel Idahosa. Well, short of repeating ourselves, you listen to what most of those the people who spoke to on the street had to say about it. And it seems that what the classic thing always is, whether here in Nigeria or anywhere in the world, is that people are afraid of what they do not understand. And so in terms of trying to make Nigerians understand what this is all about, what should the Central Bank of Nigeria, or the banks for that matter, have started to do before now?
Well, it's information. You need to let people know why you want to take their fingerprints, because taking our fingerprints is associated in some way with perhaps trying to find out if you have a criminal record.
Exactly, because one of the ladies said the Antichrist
and whatever. So there is some reaction about taking a fingerprint. What is it for? So there needs to be very intensive education by the banks using their existing channels. Most of the banks have electronic channels with which they talk to their customers all the time. So they need to do that. And of course, in the banking halls, they need to have a lot of information out there. And then, of course, in the media, they need to step up information so that people get to know. The thing is that it's assumed that most of our customers are in the urban areas, they understand what you mean by biometric. But the majority of Nigeria's population are actually outside the urban areas. And if you ask someone from the village to suddenly put his hand on a machine to take his fingerprint, he's going to wonder why he needs to do that, just because he may decide to close the account and say, I don't want to have my fingerprint with anybody.
Okay,
so you need to intensify education at every level, at the branch level where the customer actually comes in. All the electronic channels they have with customers, ATM, email, text messages, their Facebook, their websites, all the channels they have, they need to really get everyone to understand why this has been done.
But you know that we also have a very large percentage of unbanked here in Nigeria. Most of them don't have access to all of these channels that you've just mentioned. And so how can probably the government also play a role in helping to promote and encourage customers to actually take advantage of this initiative?
Well, we expect that the CBN will invest significant resources in public enlightenment.
I'm talking about, maybe talking to, for instance, local governments and the rest of it to, be part of this drive to sensitize the public. Because, we have a lot of people who actually go to the local governments to get information and the rest of it. So how can they partner with the local governments to ensure this?
Well, it's really up to CBN. The CBN is the one driving this. They can decide that they want to engage the local government, they want to engage traditional rulers, community leaders. It's a CBN project. That's why it is different from the National Identity Program, which the government is driving. So you need to bring synergy between the two at some point, where government and CBN will be saying, we are doing this, it's part of the National Identity Program, and it's for this purpose. So you obviously need the synergy, but it's up to CBN really what they want to do, because they decided on their own to go outside the National Identity Program to do their own. So they have to decide how they want to drive their own.
Thank you, Mr. Fatokun. I'm going to come to you now to be part of this conversation. We know that the verification process is supposed to be among banks, and like you said, it's 2 branches of each bank for the next, at least for this first pilot phase, and it's going to continue over the next 18 months. But how does it work for someone who has more than one account in different banks? Do you have to go to each of these banks to do a verification every time?
No, not at all. Not at all, because the database for this is hosted at the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, just as you said in the introduction. So in fact, the Bankers Committee is looking at a process whereby you can walk to any bank to do your registration. because the registration is not domiciled in the bank where you have done the registration. It's hosted in NIBS. So wherever you do the registration, it will be hosted at the database, which is in NIBS.
So what about companies who have joint accounts?
And
Is this also applicable to them as well?
Yes, it is. It's applicable to all account holders, including corporate accounts.
Now, what happens to ATM cards? Because, you know, when you do the registration process, you're supposed to be given a card that has the details on it, and of course it's supposed to be used to do transactions. What happens to your ATM cards? Does that new card, which has your bank verification number on it, supersede the ATM cards? And if it does, what's next?
For now, that card that is given to you is your bank verification number. But moving forward, you know, we already have many debit and credit cards in the system. Moving forward, the information that is captured into bank verification number will be captured into your debit card or your credit card, so that you will not need to carry two cards. That your debit or credit card can carry your biometrics and carry all other information about you.
Okay, so that means we won't be using the ATM cards anymore.
In fact, what will happen is that the information on the bank's verification number will be integrated into your ATM card.
Okay, so now, Mr. Fatoko, a lot of people are worried that you know, the Central Bank of Nigeria governor is going to be leaving very soon, and so a lot of people are worried if this plan is actually going to, or this initiative is going to continue. And if it is going to continue, is there a clear outline as regards how it should go?
There is a clear outline. Thank you. The Central Bank of Nigeria will be issuing a circular this week, just as the governor said last week. The governor said that the circular will come out this week, and it will surely come out this week. And that will give the framework for the operation of the system. But that the governor may go in June will not lead to an end of the system or the project, because though Central Bank is leading the project, it is a bankers committee's project, and it is good. It is a project that is good for us as banks and as banks customers, because I heard you say that it's going to remove identity theft. It's going to increase access to financial services, which is the issue of financial inclusion. It's going to increase access to credit. You know, one of the problems we have now is the issue of ATMs, where some people say that the ATMs have been compromised. But when all ATMs and POS are biometric compliant, then that issue will be gone. So I can't see any regime that will want to stop the project, because it's a laudable project. In fact, I can see other jurisdictions also joining us. So let me also comment that the issue of submitting your biometrics is not a new thing. If you want to get an international passport in Nigeria today, you submit your biometrics. If you want to do a driver's license, you submit your biometrics. And even the last registration of phone owners that was done by the telcos, you submit your biometrics.
Okay, so why wasn't all this biometric compiled and collected from all these agencies and used for this project? Why did the Central Bank of Nigeria have to start its own biometric data gathering?
Because it is, like I said, it is in silos now, but we are in discussion with NIMSI such that whatever is brought up here will be migrated.
Well, thank you, Mr. Fatoko, for joining us on the program.
And I can see a situation where everything will be integrated together.
Well, thank you, Mr. Fatoko, for sharing your thoughts with us this morning on the program. Just to quickly round off the show, Mr. Ilehose, you're still here with me. Thank you so much for staying around. So people are actually worried about the amount of money that will be expended, will be used to fund this project, about $50 million. That's about $8 billion. And the Central Bank of Nigeria, even though I asked and he didn't quite hear me, is going to be, is going to be given part of the funds to run this project. Is this something to worry about, especially since we know that the Central Bank of Nigeria has actually been doing a lot in terms of boosting the naira at the market, which has seen a lot of pressure lately?
Well, unless the CBN bankrolls the whole thing and pays 100% of the bill, whatever part that is paid by the bank is going to be passed on to us customers. We are going to have to pay for it. There is no, the bankers are not running a charity for any purpose. So we are certainly going to pay for it one way or the other. There may not be an explicit charge for the number itself, but there must be one way they will capture it in other services that they render to us.
So going forward, this is a good project and it's coming at the right time.
Well, it's a good project. The question has been who should do it. There's no doubt about it. It's a very good project. But should it have been done by NIMC or by somebody else? And then the extra cost we are talking about now, which is already sunk into NIMC. So we really didn't need this extra cost.
Okay, we're talking about that extra cost. I was hoping to actually ask Mr. Fatukun about it, but we're fast spent for time. But thank you so much for coming on the program, Mr. Gabriel Idahosa. It's been an interesting conversation, albeit the technical challenges that we had this morning.
Thank you.
Well, I've been speaking with Gabriel Idahosa. He's an economic analyst and the Chief Executive Officer of UHY Maji & Co. And Mr. Dikpo Fatukun joined us live he's the Director of Banking and Payment System of the Central Bank of Nigeria. He joined us live from our Abuja studio. Thank you, Mr. Fatukun, for also joining us on the program. Well, as many questions as we had to ask, and because of time and the technical issues, we couldn't take them. We'll revisit this issue once again, but that's the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Harriet Agbini.